We continue now at the top of Daf Peivavam and Beis in Meseches Zevachim. This is Zevachim Daf 86b. On the previous summit, the Mishnah made a distinction by Karbonola. Let's say the Ivarim are burning on the Mizbeach and they become dislodged from the Mizbeach. So if they become dislodged before Chatzos, then they are returned to the Mizbeach. Dislodged after Chatzos, then they are not returned to the Mizbeach. And the Gemara had asked, what are we talking about? If we're talking about a situation where they have substance, they should always be returned to the Mizbeach. If they don't have substance, then they should not be returned to the Mizbeach. And the Gemara now answers Bishrire. We're talking about where they have been hardened. Rashi explains Bishrire Koshin Sheniskashu Machmas O Esha Sholta Bekulan V'Nisrafu. They became hardened because of the fire. Ela Shalo Nasu Pecham, but they didn't become embers. Ela Ke'etzim Yeveshim Hemitochim. It's like they're dried wood. That's the situation specifically that our Mishnah is talking about. And there we go by Chatzos. Again, before Chatzos, they are returned to the Mizbeach. After the Chatzos, they are not. The Gemara says Menohani Mili. From where do we know this? Rashi says Menohani Mili Chatzos Talia Milsa. How do we know it's dependent about Chatzos? And the Gemara says Amar Rav. Rav says Kasav Echad Omer Kol Halayla V'Hikter. One pasuk says all night is for burning. V'Chasav Echad Omer Kol Halayla V'Herim. And the other pasuk says all night is for V'Herim, which is removing the ashes from the Mizbeach. And therefore Chelkeyu, you have to divide the night up at midnight. Chetzio LaHaktara, half is for burning. V'Chetzio LaHarama, and half is for the removal of the ashes. Rashi explains, Kasav Echad Omer Kol Halayla V'Hikter Al Mokta Al HaMizbeach Kol Halayla Ad HaBoker. It says it should burn. Dahainu Haktar is talking about burning the entire night. The limbs should burn. V'Chasav Echad Omer Kol Halayla. And the other one says, it says Kol Halayla. Again, the pasuk says, first the pasuk says Kol Halayla. The full pasuk is Tzav Esaron Vesbanav Lemor Zos Torah Ola Hi Ola Mokta Al HaMizbeach Kol Halayla Ad HaBoker V'Esha Mizbeach Tukad Bo. And then it goes on to say V'Lavash HaKohen Midovad U'Michnas Evad Yilbash Al Besaro. The Kohen wears his garments V'Heirem Esadeshin, and then he removes the ashes. And so again Rashi explains V'Chasav Echad Omer Kol Halayla V'Samach Le V'Heirem Esadeshin. It says Kol Halayla, and near that those words in the pasuk it says V'Heirem Esadeshin. V'Al Karchach Kol Halayla Koi. It has to be that the words V'Heirem Esadeshin are going on the words Kol Halayla. All night is the time for Heirem Esadeshin. The Halo Ksiv V'Lavash HaKohen Ba'Boker Midobad. The pasuk doesn't mean that in the morning the Kohen is wearing those garments. Ela Kol Halayla Ad HaBoker V'Lavash. All night until morning he's wearing V'Heirem and he's removing. Kain Shamati B'Seder Yuma. That's what I heard in Meseches Yuma. And so we understand that to me, and again it's divided up Chetzio LaHaktara V'Chetzio LaHarama. And Rashi explains Chetzio LaHaktara the Lo Have Ichol. It means to say that Chetzio LaHaktara, half of it is for burning. It's not consumed. Ilav Deshen Mamishu. If it's not Mamish Deshen, Rashi says, if it already certainly turned into Deshen, it's clearly ashes, so then it is removed. But in a situation where it is not, so that first half we leave it to be burning. But for Chetzio LaHarama, but the second half of the night, there already we remove it, even if it's not ashes. Afilu Koshin Shabain, even if it's just hardened, Ru'uyin LaHarama, that's considered to be fit for Harama, for the removal. Ukruyin Deshen, at that point it's called ashes. Umiu Basar Mamish Lekalameimar Demikri Deshen. Rashi does note, you cannot say that actual meat would be called Deshen. The entire discussion over here, where we're dividing the night, is talking about where you have these hardened Devarim, and again, after midnight, those are going to be called Deshen. And the Gemara continues, Meisiv Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana asks from a Mishnah, this is a Mishnah in Meseches Yuma. The Mishnah says, B'chol Yom Torah Mes HaMizbeach. Every day he would remove the ashes from the Mizbeach. Mikros HaGever, from the time of the rooster crowing, O Samach Lo Milfanov O Me'achrav, it could be a little bit before, a little bit after. B'Yom HaKippurim B'chatzos, and then on Yom Kippur, it would be from midnight. That would be the removal of the ashes. And B'Regalim, on the holidays, B'Ashmoras HaRishonah, then it would be done in the first Ashmoras, the first watch. That's the earlier part of the night. It would start even earlier, that removal. And so the Gemara asks, V'Salka Daitach Mechatzos Doraisa. If it should enter your mind that this idea of Chatzos is on a Doraisa level, so Hechim Mekadminan, how is it that on the Regolim, Mekadminan, that we would do it earlier? You can't do it earlier from what the Torah says. And so that's why we have a question here from this Mishnah. Rashi explains, Meisiv Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana asks, Adarav, he's asking the question on Rav, Diamar Chetzio LaHarama. It says again, half of the night is for removal of the ashes. ashes, demashma dekodim chatzos, that sounds like before chatzos, lav shas haramahi. It's not the time for removal. Afilu min hanas and deshin, it sounds like even from that which actually is deshin, which actually are ashes, it sounds like it cannot be removed. That's what it sounds like Rav is saying. And again, the Mishnah said, "Hayotar min trumas hadeshin malo machta v'nosna b'mizrachu shel kavish." Again, they would scoop up. That's the trumas hadeshin. They would scoop up the ashes and they would put it east of the ramp of the mizbeach. And it said, "Uveregolim me'ashmoras harishona," that would start in the regolim from the first watch of the night. Umishim denefishi karbonos. Since there's a lot of karbonos v'nafish deshin, there's a lot of ashes. Betzarich la'alosin l'tapuach shebe'emsa mizbeach u'lesader es hamarocha belayla. You have to arrange the fires at night sheyuchlu lishchot in order to slaughter u'lahalos hatamid ba'alos hashachar, and in order to bring the carbon tamid at alos hashachar at dawn. And so again, the question was, if it should enter your mind that chatzos is doraisa, so how could it be that you can do it earlier? And the Gemara continues and answers, Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Mimashma shenemar kol halayla, since it says kol halayla all night, Eini yodeya she'ad haboker, don't I know that means until the morning? Ma Talmud lomar ad boker, why does the pasuk say ad boker? Tein boker lebokaro shalayla, you have to add a morning to the morning of the night. Hilkach, therefore, kol yoma mikros hagever sagi, every day it's enough that you should do that removal from kros hagever, from the time of the crowing of the rooster. B'yom HaKippurim and Yom Kippur mishum chulsha de Kohen Gadol, since the Kohen Gadol is weak, mechatzos, we do it a little earlier from chatzos, from midnight, and b'regolim on the holidays, denefishi karbonos, where there are a lot of karbonos, tekadmi asu Yisrael me'ashmores harishona. So then, over there, when the Klal Yisrael is coming with many karbonos, so we do it from the ashmores harishona, from that first watch. And the Gemara continues, Kedekatani Seifa, as is taught at the end of this Mishnah, Lo haisa kriyas hagever magas at shahaisa azara milayim Yisrael. The rooster didn't crow, and at that point in time already the azar, the courtyard, was full of members of Klal Yisrael. And Rashi explains, Amar Rabbi Yochanan garas velo garsinan Ella. The proper text here is Amar Rabbi Yochanan without the word Ella, because this is not a new answer. We're clarifying what Rav was saying. Mimashma shenemar kilomar, what it means to say is as follows. Kroi kiderab mitarzi. Keep the answer of understanding the psukim like Rav. Ulashminan de chatzos osa ichol b'shrire. And again, the psukim are talking about chatzos by the shrire, as we said, by the hardened evarim. Dekodem chatzos hein bechlal hekter. And the pasuk is simply saying before chatzos, they're included in the burning. They're considered to be, that they should be burned on the mizbeach. Umechatzos veilach ruin laharama kedeshen ma'ali. And then after chatzos, they're considered like deshen, and that's harama, that's removal from the mizbeach. The harama b'muchalin legamri kodem chatzos nafkol and mehaikra. And in terms of what we were discussing, in terms of muchalin legamri, if it's completely deshen, completely consumed, that can be done kodem chatzos, and that's learned from the following pasuk. That's why Rabbi Yochanan is bringing this pasuk. Mimash meshenemar kol halayla, since it says kol halayla, im lelamed bo kemashma kol hamikra. If it's just teaching like the simple understanding of the pasuk, sheyehimale evarim umaktir not haboker, that you're going to burn the limbs until the morning, mikol halayla nafka. We already know that from kol halayla. Matamud lomar ad boker. Why does it have to say until morning? It says all night you can burn. What's the ad boker for? Lo nemar ela leinyan harama. That ad boker is to tell you in terms of harama, in terms of the removal of the ashes. Lomar shetormin kol halayla means to say all night is the time for the removal of deshen. V'hachi kamen, it means to say as follows: ad haboker veherim. It says until morning veherim you remove. Lifnei haboker veherim, and you do it before the morning as well. V'lo nasan shir ladavar. The point is there's no exact time. Tein boker lebokaro shalayla. Give a morning to the morning of the night. Meaning bokaro shalayla. What's the boker of the night? Alos hashachar. That refers to dawn. Boker achar tein lo. Give it another morning, which means hainu hashkama. That refers to just the time of wakening. V'kevan de'ein zman l'davar, and since there's no set time for this, elo shel hashkama, it all goes by hashkama, hakol lefi tzorech hashad, it really just goes by the need of the time. Yesh biyad chalaso, so that's what you should do. Hilkach, therefore, kol yoma, every day on a normal day, bekros hagever, o samachlo, lefanav, o liachrav sagi, at the time the rooster crows, or a little before or after, that's fine. B'yom HaKippurim, on Yom Kippur, shekol ha'avodim mutelas al Kohen Gadol, where the Kohen Gadol has to do everything, v'ikachosha, so you might get weak, tzarech lahaktam yoser, you do it a little bit earlier. And then when it comes to the holidays, you go by the first watch. Like it says at the end of that Mishnah, that the rooster didn't crow, and already by that time the courtyard was filled with members of Klal Yisrael. And the Gemara continues, Itmar, it was stated the following, Machlokas Amoraim, Pirshu Kodem Chatzos, let's say the limbs separated from the Mizbeach before Chatzos, Vechziron Achar Chatzos, and then they were returned after Chatzos. Rabba Omar Rabba says, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video, on Daf Pei Zayin Amud Aleph.